Hooray! Fawn released a new interactive die set. Of course I have to try it right away. The die set is called Give It a Whirl, and it has this great circle reveal mechanism. That means you have a circle on the front of the card that you can decorate with a sentiment, for example, and the rotation releases a completely new scene underneath. For my base card, I'm using a card sketch from Kendra's card challenge. My name is Julia, and I'm an enthusiastic card maker and paper crafter from Austria. Welcome to my channel, Julie's Kreativschatzkiste. So this is the die set that arrived yesterday. I also picked out a paper from Fawn called Favorite Flannel. Today I'm going to be unfaithful to my favorite colors turquoise and orange, because I picked out this red and this beige sheets of paper. I'm going to use them to create my card background. I'm using sketch number 6, which Kendra provides as part of her Kendra's Card Challenge number 13. If you want to know more about Kendra's Card Challenge, there already are a few videos about it on my channel, and I'll link you the details in the description box. With Kendra's Card Challenge, you can win many prizes provided by sponsors, and Fawn is one of these sponsors. For this mentioned card sketch, I have to divide a rectangle into 4 quarters at the diagonals. So it makes sense that I make 2 cards at once, because I have the corresponding pieces of paper already. In the individual card sketches the measurements are included. However, they are designed for the American A2 format. I converted this into the European A6 format, which means the rectangle that I cut here is 9.5 by 13.8 centimeters. I place the papers in the trimmer so that the corners lie exactly above this cutting line in the trimmer and cut through. So that everything stays nice and even, I tape these cuts together again on both sides, so the red and the beige side. And then I can repeat the same thing with the other 2 corners. So I have 4 of each paper and a total of 8 triangles. And when I put the cards together in the matching colors, the cut lines fit nicely together because I cut them at the same time. Here I have clipped apart the new dies already, and I stuck them on my magnet plates. Now let's start with the construction. The die set comes with 2 circles, each of which has this cut in the middle. You need the smaller one twice for each card, so I need in total 4 of them because I'm making 2 cards. I cut this circle out of watercolor paper twice because I wanted to add a bit of blending with my distress oxides, and watercolor paper works really well for that. And I cut out the second circles from another paper with 220 grams. These are only intended for the reinforcement and the mechanism, so no one will see them. What I also prepared is this tab die. According to Fawn instructions, you should cut it out from thin copy paper. Now I'm going to start decorating the 2 circles cut out of watercolor paper. This is the front of the mechanism, so this is the side that you see when the mechanism is closed. You should not stick any die cuts or other decorations on these circles. It is recommended to decorate them with stamps and heat embossing only. I start here with a layer of distress oxides in the colors Scattered Straw and Saltwater Taffy, as well as Abandoned Coral. And of course I have to make the obligatory splashes of water for the distress oxides. I also make splashes with my metallic watercolors in red, and then I dry everything. After I also used my anti-static powder on the circles, I picked out a sentiment, a herzlichen Glückwunsch, a congratulations, which I now have placed here on my circle. I make sure that this cutting line on the circle, which will later be needed for the mechanism, is not covered by the sentiment. I'm afraid that stamping on the cut line wouldn't work too well, so I don't stamp there at all. So that the sentiment will be in exactly the same place on the second circle as well, I simply stack my 2 circles and align them exactly on the cutting line. And one on top of the other, I place them in my stamping aid. When I have stamped and heat embossed the sentiment on my first circle, I can do exactly the same on the second one. By the way, for the stamping I use Distress Oxide Abandoned Coral, and on top of that I use clear embossing powder. That brings out the colors so beautifully. When heating the embossing powder, you have to make sure that you distribute the heat evenly, because if the paper warps, the mechanism will no longer work as well. It's best to apply the heat to the paper from both sides, and then maybe place something heavy on top of it and let it cool down for a short time. Once that is done, you can glue on the second circle, which we have already cut out of white paper, onto the already decorated circle, using this tab that we have already cut out before. To do that, you have to fold the tab in half and apply glue or a tape roller to one side. The tab has to be aligned on the folded side with the slot in the circle. So the tab finally sits on the upper side of the slot on the back side of the decorated circle. In order to get the adhesive just where it should go, I take a piece of paper and put it between the circle and the slot, so I ensure that there's no adhesive on the circle, but only on the tab. Then I put adhesive on the other side of the tab to include a white circle exactly aligned on the back of the decorated circle. So the two circles actually just stick together because of this tab. In the next step, I cut out these two circles from a peach colored paper with a larger circle die from the set. These circles also have slits, but they don't go all the way to the edge. The scene is then hidden on these circles and is revealed by turning the mechanism. As I said, these circles are slightly larger, which means the hidden scene cannot go all the way to the edge of the larger circles. That is why I aligned the smaller circles with a slot on the larger circles and lightly drew the edge of the smaller circles with a pencil. This way I know how far I can decorate my inner scene. Because I also want to stamp on the inner circle, the pencil line wasn't enough for me, because I wanted to prevent my stamp from extending too far and being visible even when the mechanism is closed. So I needed a mask that I made using a piece of mylar. I simply cut out the smaller circle from this mylar. And then, when I line up this mask with the pencil marks on the larger circle, I have exactly the area which I can decorate. By the way, Fawn also sells templates like this. It's even more practical there because there's an edged line for the outer circle and you don't need any pencil markings. For the hidden scenes in my birthday cards, I picked out two stamp sets from Fawn, the Tea-rrific add-on and the Unicorn Picnic. I stamped a few stamps from it, which I will now color with my alcohol markers. I won't show you the whole coloring now, because then the video would be too long. However, when coloring, I made sure that the colors I used matched my base colors of the card. Once that's done, I'll start aligning it on my card. The mask, which I made myself, is again very helpful, because it means I know exactly where I can place my critters. The Tea-rrific add-on comes with a happy birthday to you. I really want to use this, and I'm stamping it here with Memento London Fog. This is a medium grey, which I also used to stamp my critters beforehand. I also used the mask in the second circle and align my critters. Then I just take a piece of packaging foil and put it over it, as my stamp is definitely not clean. And this way I can avoid smudges from the stamp placement on my circle. Now the time has come to stick everything that I previously stamped and colored onto my inner circle. I use my tape roller again for this. And when that's done, my mask will be used again, because I use my white gel pen to draw a hill or a ground on which my mouse is sitting on. I then color it a little darker with a bent coral distress oxide so that it stands out from the background. Finally, I stamp small stars and music notes, also in abandoned coral. But before I decorate the second circle, I cut out this handle out of white paper. The second die, which you see here, I cut out of peach colored paper, so it can be glued onto the handle for reinforcement, and also that the color matches. And then this handle can be glued onto my circle. Please note that it is only glued on the top circle of the two circles that are stuck together. The handle is sticking out. The die adapts very nicely to the circular shape, so you cannot miss where it belongs. I then glue the peach colored paper on top of it. There's an arrow on it so that the card recipient knows exactly what to do. Afterwards you can combine the two circles for the completed mechanism. This is done by pulling the front circle of the two circles that are stuck together from behind through the slot, with the handle coming first. The second white circle remains hidden behind the large circle. If you move the paper back and forth a little and operate the mechanism a few times, then it actually works quite well. In fact, you can't stop once you've started. I then decorated my second circle with the unicorns. I also stamped the happy birthday to you here, and now I want to stamp clouds with white pigment ink. I'm using the mask again, so that I can stamp beyond the circle border and the clouds virtually float into the picture. In the end, the white pigment ink was too light for me. You can see that it is not visible here in the video, and so I traced the clouds with my white gel pen and also decorated them further with dashed lines. However, you also can't see that particularly well in the camera, but I can assure you it looks good in real life. Then I stuck on my unicorns. I could theoretically stick something on top of this slot. I would then simply have to cut the slot again. However, I avoided it here because I thought then the mechanism wouldn't work as well. Here you can watch again as I combine the circles. From behind, handle first, through the slot upwards. Since I haven't put away my stamps yet, I also stamped a few of these stars on the front with abandoned coral. Now that our two mechanisms are complete, it's time to assemble the base card. I now cut the matting layers from the same peach colored paper as before, measuring 10 by 14.3 centimeters. I'm using yellow card blanks here because they go well with the card. There's actually a trick how to stick these triangles on correctly. You can simply fix them on the back with a tape before sticking them onto the card, so that they are in the right position. And then you can apply them together on the matting layer with tape or glue. The positioning is much easier that way, believe me, because I didn't use this trick on the first card. In order to stick the Give a Whirl mechanism on the card, you need foam tape, a very thin one. I didn't have anything so thin, so I just used one that was thicker and I cut it into half. So the width was perfect. The foam tape is stuck on the larger of the two circles. It is important that the foam tape doesn't touch the smaller of the two circles on the inside, so that it can move nicely. And after I glued it to my card, the quick test, yes, it worked luckily. The final decorations are the sequins from the Spellbinders advent calendar. They just matched the colors so perfectly I had to use them. And with that, my Give It a Whirl birthday cards are finished. I hope you like the cards. Give me a like if you do. If you haven't done it already, I would be very glad if you would subscribe to my channel if you liked the video. How do you like the Give It a Whirl die set? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, servus. Until next time.